Per a subscriber's request, these are the top 10 classic cover comics I'd still be buying right now. What is going on YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles. And believe it or not, we have another top 10 list for you guys today. This time, a subscriber reached out to me and asked me to do a top 10 classic cover comics that I'd still add to my collection right now in this heated market. So that's what I have for you guys today. Before we get started, I want you to go out there. Anyone who's been watching my content who isn't a subscriber, I want you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. I also want you to hit that like button. This way, this video and all my content can get shared throughout the YouTube community and hopefully grow my channel. It would really help me out, guys. But we're here for a top 10. So let's jump right into it. At number 10, we have Secret Wars number 8. And of course, we all know this as the origin of the black costume. We first come to know of the symbiote and what would go on to transpire later on in the comics with that symbiote attaching himself to Eddie Brock and becoming Venom. Now, I will say this, Secret Wars and that whole series was one of my favorite reads when I was a kid growing up. And nothing is more classic than this cover by Mike Zeck. This was published in December of 1989, and Mike Zeck did a beautiful job on this book. It is a classic cover. It comes in at number 10 on my list. This book is still affordable and can be had at a fairly decent price. A CGC 9.6 recently sold in March, believe it or not. I'm sorry, it sold in June, believe it or not, for $312, which is still pretty cheap for a 9.6 book, almost 9.8. The 9.8s are a little bit more expensive than that, so I suggest getting this at a 9.6 if you can still find one. I still think this is a highly undervalued key. If we ever do see that black suit go on Peter Parker at some point in the MCU or the Sonyverse, this book is going to explode. Now, I thought about putting Amazing Spider-Man number 252, but that was really an homage to Amazing Fantasy 15. This cover kind of stands on its own in Secret Wars number 8, and that's why it's at number 10 for me. Coming in at number 9 is a copy of Avengers number 4. The classic Jack Kirby art of The Return of Captain America. An important book in the Silver Age. The Return of Captain America set off new events for the Avengers going forward and down the line. Now, this book was published in March of 1963 by, I said, cover drawn by great Jack Kirby. A CGC 2.5 back in May sold for $1,795, which, all things considering, is a fairly cheap price considering it's the first Silver Age appearance of Captain America. Again, this comes in at 9 on my list. A little bit of a pricey book, but this cover is unbelievable. It's Kirby, it's classic, been homaged to death. I had to put it on my list at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is a copy of Batman 251, the first Neil Adams on Batman. This was published in September of 1973, and Neil Adams did a number of wonderful pieces for the Batman run. Now, this book can still be had for a decent amount of money. CGC 5.0 recently sold this month for only $500, which I actually think is a steal. Neil has done so many classic, iconic characters. I believe he shows up again on this list that are on. Let's check it out. But like I said, Batman 251, classic cover, comes in at number 8 on my list, and definitely worth picking up if you don't have one. Coming in at number 7 is a copy, and my personal favorite, of Amazing Spider-Man number 39, the classic John Romita cover. The blue and the purples on this book absolutely pop. It is one of my favorites. Now, this book was released in August of 1966, and a CGC 5.0 recently sold this month for only $430, which to me is a steal. A 4.0 for a Silver Age book, I think, is a decent way to go. I don't think everything out there needs to be purchased in high grade, especially a book like this. I'm not saying it's not worth it to buy high grade, but it is a key book considering it is a classic cover. But outside of that, Spider-Man is unmasked in this issue, which is why it is more valuable than most people think. But either way, it's number 7 on my list, and I'm surprised I didn't have it higher considering this is one of my all-time favorite covers. John Romita, great artist, also has another book on this list. Coming in at number 6, believe it or not, is Neil Adams again, Batman 227, this classic throwback to Detective Comics number 31, also one of my favorite covers, especially one of my favorite Neil Adams covers. This book was published in December of 1970 and still can be had for pretty cheap. A CGC 5.5 recently sold this month for only $450. I personally have a signed Neil Adams copy of this book, and I believe it's a 5.0. So most of these books I'm giving you are in that mid-range and affordable. That's what we're kind of looking for. You're not going to see an Action Comics 1 on this list. You're not going to see an AF-15 on this list, because it is books that I'm willing to spend that kind of money on right now. And I still think this classic cover and a lot of these on this list are very affordable. Now, coming in at number 5 is a departure from the norm. It is Black Cat Mystery number 50, the classic Lee Elias cover from Harvey Publications. Now, this book was published in 1954, so if you can get your hands on a copy of this book, it will be quite pricey. A CGC 1.0, believe it or not, sold this month for $2,600, a 1.0. I have had this book in my collection before, and let me tell you, it is an absolute masterpiece. This and Tomb of Terror 15. I think the Black Cat Mystery 50 is a little bit more classic. That's why it made my list. But the pre-code horror genre, I haven't really talked about much. I have some pre-code horror books, but for the most part, this and, like I said, the Tomb of Terror 15 could possibly make this list. Those are classic covers that I think will stand the test of time, and I definitely add them to my collection if you guys could afford it and wanted to spend the money in a pre-code horror book. Coming in at number 4 is also one of my personal favorites. I do have a copy of this book. It is a copy of Fantastic Four number 12, the first time the Hulk and the Thing meet, and the Fantastic Four. I might as well throw it as that. This book is published in March of 1963, and of course drawn by the great Jack Kirby. King Kirby does it again with this absolutely beautiful cover. The grays, and I've talked about this before, the grays on the background of this book, brought together by the orange and the green of the Hulk and the blue of the Fantastic Four, makes this for an absolute masterpiece. Jack knew what he was doing back then. That's why they call him the king. Now, this book in a CGC 4.0, have a seat, guys, is a little expensive. It sold this month for $1,340, which was quite pricey. I bought a 4.0 a couple of years back. I think I paid $500 and change for it. If you go back away and check out my videos, you'll probably see me unbox it at one point. This book is a definite add to my collection. Any collection out there, if you're willing to pay up for it, it's gotten a little pricey, but I still think it's worthy of being on this list, considering it is one of my top 10 classic covers. Definitely a book I'd add. Coming at number 3 is a book I've talked about non-stop for the past 6 months, guys. It is Amazing Spider-Man number 50, the first appearance of the Kingpin, but also a classic cover by John Romita. We've seen this done before in the Sony Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man No More, the classic reds of the cover. This book has been homaged a bunch of times in modern comics now. This book was also published in July of 1967, and a CGC 4.0 sold this month, believe it or not, for only $763. I personally own 2 copies of this book, and I wouldn't be afraid to add a 3rd copy at some point, because this book not only is undervalued because it is the first appearance of the Kingpin, but it is also undervalued for being such an amazing cover, a classic cover that's been homaged a bazillion times. So if you guys are specking out there and you want to add a classic cover and a first appearance, this takes care of both of them in one shot. Doesn't help. It also helps if you're an Amazing Spider-Man fan, because all Amazing Spider-Man books, I believe, will last the test of time, especially investment-wise. Coming in at number 2, and I'm not sure how this book did not make number 1, is a copy of Silver Surfer number 4, and there really is nothing special about this book besides this cover. Beautiful John Buscema artwork. This was published in February of 1969. It is, to this day, one of the most beautiful covers you have ever seen, with the blacks background and the pop of the colors for both Thor and the Silver Surfer and the Bifrost coming into play. It is such an amazing job John Buscema did on this cover. It will last the test of time. And I'm not sure how this didn't make number 1. Like I said, I have it at number 2. And CGC 6.0, believe it or not, only sold this month for $1,500. I have I believe a 7.0 or a 7.5 copy that I paid $500 and change for maybe about a year and a half ago. So this book has really taken off, but I still believe its best days are ahead of it, especially once the Silver Surfer comes into the MCU and hopefully Thor sticks around and we kind of get an homage scene in the movie from this cover. That would be awesome, and that's kind of what I'm specking on for anybody picking up this book. I hope we get to see it. All of these covers, to be honest with you, right? First time the Hulk meets the Fantastic Four and the Thing back to back. Hopefully we get to see that in an actual movie, in an actual TV show. That would be awesome. All right, guys. we're here for number one. What is the number one classic cover in my opinion that I would pick up? Some people might debate me on this if it's a classic cover, but I believe it is, and that is Incredible Hulk number 181. This Herb Trimp cover is mind-blowing. Between the oranges of the background, the Hulk going after Wolverine, as you can see my statue up there on the top left-hand corner. This is a book that has also been homaged to death. Now, we all know it's gone a meteoric rise in value over the last couple of months, but I will say this. This book was published in November of 1974 and is CGC 5.0, believe it or not, sold for $5,699 this month. But I believe we're starting to see a little bit of a dip right now in Hulk 181s. So if you're looking to buy one, if you're looking to add one to collection, wait about a month and a half or so, and we may get a little bit of a dip for you to pounce on. But long term, I think this book is the classic cover to buy, and you will get the most out of your investment. To me, I'm partial to yellow and orange covers. I can't tell you why. They're most appealing to my eye. But all of these on this list are some of the books I would still pick up and are the top probably 10 favorites of mine going into the classic cover genre if you want to buy and add them to your collection with the way the market is right now. I will say this is my opinion, guys. You don't have to listen to me. This is just what I like, what I see, and what I see probably getting more valuable over time. So as always, guys, let me know what you think of my list. Did I miss any books you'd rather have on there? Would you rather have them in a different order? Drop me some comments down below. Let me know what you think of this list. And let me know if you think I suck. If I really messed up, because I've been getting some of those comments too. But either way, guys, this is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles. Thank you always for watching. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And I will talk to you guys soon.